Hello, beautiful souls. This is Nikita Bhargav, and I am back with my second episode for the Twin Flames as part of the Ascension journey. And this is a journey which is for the accelerated pathway in your ascension, and for those who have chosen specifically the romantic love as their chosen path of lesson, of learning. And you will find that those who are walking the twin flame journey are from two ends. One of those who have been looking for a certain kind of love. There has been a longing in them since they were very young, and since they have been uh, aware of a certain kind of relationship or thing like marriage or romance, and there has been a certain search, and they might have been in multitude of relationships because of that search of theirs. And the other extreme is those who seem to be complete non-believers, who have been commitment phobics or been womanizers, for example, or who have thought love is not for them for whatever reason. So one of the reasons why I have chosen the route of stories is we all have a child in us, and we love listening to narration of stories, and love stories is something that are beautiful. What I'm trying to do with uh, narrating these love stories and based mostly on true love stories, of course with time, with things being added, deleted, and fables and poetry, and so things are exaggerated and some imagination is added to it, but the overall feeling, the romance still stays. Why I'm doing this is for two main reasons. One is that on this journey of twin flame, there comes a point when you start losing hope. You forget what you felt in the beginning, the romance, the excitement, the when you felt the connection that you've met the other part of your soul, not the other part, but the person who holds the key to your particular lock. Why nobody else kind of was fitting in that place of your heart. Why nobody could unlock it completely. And love stories, though they are poignant and usually have tragic ending, I'll explain why that also is there. The second reason, apart from bringing back that romance and that reminding you of what the beginning of the journey was, and bringing you back from the skepticism and the exhaustion and oh my god and the runner and all that, the second is to also explain some of templates that we are experiencing and why certain things are happening. For example, when you will be listening to the stories, you'll realize, and I'm trying to get an assortment from the world, unknown and unknown and not so famous, not so popular love stories. And you will realize a lot of them ended in some form of tragedy. Some united, some didn't unite, some united in death. For example, in my personal twin flame journey, twins reincarnate together very seldom because the energy is very powerful and the energy for the union has not happened till probably now. So whenever we did come together, it was very intense lives, and for some reason or the other we would part. And in my twin flame journey in the past life, what I have seen is I was burnt as for not renouncing my pagan faith. And when I was burnt, it was in front of my twin, who was my husband in that life. He saw me being burnt alive, okay, now which then set the motion off. And I have he has seen some of his past lives, and so I know from there in, when he ended up, he couldn't take the pain of me not being there with him anymore, and he ended up killing himself, unable to bear the pain. It set him in a pattern of relationships where the woman would leave or reject, and he would end up either wasting his life or ending his life. So the trauma, imagine, of, you know, your soul and heart is saying this is the person, your mind is saying hold on, how does this make sense, how is, you know, it going to work out and whatever. And then comes your subconscious who says hold on, wait, the last time she was in our life, a chain of events started happening and you ended up killing yourself. So somewhere the subconscious is warning you that she's a threat. And now when she's come into your life in this lifetime, and the tower effect happens, your life is being turned topsy-turvy, upside down, inside out, and triggers are happening, and you're being asked to let go of certain things without any explanation. You're being asked to change all your plans, you're being asked to surrender, you know, so many things are being asked of the masculine. And he's like, but my subconscious sees, hold on. The subconscious is only trying to protect. It doesn't know the whole story. It doesn't know that now the time has come for us to complete the story. But to understand the completion of the story, we have to go back to the beginning. And today, I'm going to be taking you through one of my favorite love stories. And as is the case with most of them, there are many versions, and there are alternate versions and altered versions, censored versions, toned down versions. So though I will try and take you through, and you know, I will like to tell you the versions that maybe as a teenager or as a young person that appeal to me the most. And today the story is Laila and Majnu. And look at me, I'm showing you a book which will obviously be reversed on the video. It's Laila and Majnu, and this is a wonderful book for those of you who are readers, and I'm going to tell you the details of it in the end of it. So the story of Laila and Majnu is from the 7th century. And I'm also trying to take you through it slightly chronologically so that you can start seeing how the templates slowly over time have been changing for the twin flames. And it is based on true events that has happened, and it was in Arabia. The real name of Majnu, which basically means someone possessed or a madman, his real name was Qais. And Qais and Laila, they met when they were very, very young, studying their culture because it was at a co-ed institution, an educational institution, where they first laid eyes on each other. You would presume that Laila would not have been older than 5 or 6 to be sent to a co-ed institution in Arabia. And Majnu must have been around the same age or a couple of years older. And The first time at that young age when Majnu laid his eyes on Laila, he was mesmerized and smitten immediately, as is the connection in twin flames that we always feel when we first lock eyes. There is something that happens and you just don't know what starts opening within you. And so, and Laila felt it too. So they both, from that young age when they don't even know what love is, they want to sit together, they're always together, and they have this deep love for each other. And the version which I like is when one day Kais is so mesmerized by Laila sitting next to him in class that he's not paying attention to what his teacher is saying, right? So the teacher calls him up, and as was corporal punishments were very common, he canes him on his hand, and it is Laila who's sitting back in class who screams out because she feels the pain that Kais is going through. And the teacher is very taken aback and he stops hitting Kais. And by, people start talking about Kais and Laila. And these rumors or this gossip reaches the ears of Laila's father, who's a very, very wealthy and important person. And he has a very high status, he's very respected, he's very prestigious, the family, all that. Kais is not from a very wealthy family. He is in fact a commoner. He's not poor, but he has parents, he's loved by his parents, but he's like a commoner. And so the education of Laila is kind of cut short, and the father pulls her out of the school because he does not want her name to be tarnished. And Majnu, or Kais, this is how his name will become Majnu, he cannot bear that, and he keeps waiting to catch glimpses of her. And as he's growing into probably a pre-tween, he's a tween or he's getting into his teenage, he starts missing her so much, and he waits for her glimpses and everything. And he starts writing poetry about Laila and his love and longing, his yearning, his pining, and her beauty, or what he imagines her. And he starts naming her. Now when he starts naming her, obviously the relatives of Laila and the uncles and her father, they get very offended. And people hear because of these poems, because he catches hold of people, passers by, and he starts narrating those poems to them, and in the hope, have you met my Laila? Can you tell me something about my Laila? Have you met her recently? And he is always in thoughts of Laila all the time. And that's where people start calling him Majnu, or someone who is possessed. And by and by, and Laila is equally missing him, and she pines for him, and she keeps trying to figure out ways of going to places or dargahs or place of worship or marketplace somehow, so that maybe Kes would be there and they could at least see each other. Those of you in separation would understand the pining, the pain, because how much you yearn to just for that one text, that one message, that phone call, that one meeting, even if it's for, you're like, give me 1 hour. So imagine what Laila and Kes were going through, and there were no phones, and there were no emails, and there was no Facebook to stalk them on, or Instagram, yeah. So, but they had that immense faith on each other. They never questioned the love. They never questioned, is he the one, is she the one, or are we meant to be with each other, or nothing. They just gave in to that love. which is why probably in our generation, our template, it is slightly scary, because in the previous templates they just so easily accepted the love and they were willing to live and die for it, that now when we are so reliant on our brain, that we are not willing to give in that easily to the love, the feelings of love, or to trust it that easily. So coming from the subconscious, which is why the inner work for both masculines and feminines is so important, and why the masculine is constantly encouraged to trust his feelings and to make the effort and to rely on his inner guidance, to start connecting and to trust the intuition. So now continuing with the story, um, now Laila, and of course at that time girls were married off at a very young age. So when Majnu has now got the tag of being Majnu, and he continues and he tries to see glimpses of Laila, and the couple of times he does, like there's a very beautiful narration, or there's a very beautiful description of when he sees her after so long, he can't take it and he collapses, he faints. Yeah, and people are like, what's wrong with this dude? And his friends tease him constantly and stuff. So now when he's a little of the age when probably the marriage proposals could go, he goes and he speaks to his parents and he says, I want to ask for the hand of Laila. And they do try to warn him, but seeing his extent of love for her, they say, okay, why, maybe you should go and talk to Laila's father. And Laila's father obviously rejects him because he's not of their status, he is not wealthy, and on top of that he has the reputation of being possessed. He's Majnu. And there are several anecdotes which are very heartwarming if you were to read or research on it. And like when he is given an opportunity by the father of Laila to prove himself, he in his excitement he kisses the pet dog of Laila and that gets him the final rejection from the father, saying that you're actually possessed, who else in their right minds would kiss a dog? And now Majnu is very heartbroken. He does not know what to do. But Laila's father is now worried because Laila is equally missing and, is not eating well and who's constantly lost in the thoughts of Kes. And so when the proposals from a lot of wealthy and, princes and other prosperous are coming, the marriage proposals are coming from Laila, for Laila, there is one that Laila's father accepts, and without the actual consent of Laila, she's married off. Hearing this news, Majnu actually loses his mind and he runs away into the desert, and where he stays for the rest of his natural life. It is said that his energy, the vibrations he was giving out, he was so involved in his divine love for Laila that all the animals of the desert were drawn to his energies, and they would actually protect him and they would actually take care of him. And even when people have tried to harm him, it was the animals who kind of protected Kais. Now when Laila is taken to her husband's house, and the husband is very happy because Laila was fabled for her beauty. Everyone spoke about how lucky he was, and he has got the gem and he has this wealth now in the form of his wife, and he's very excited. Now from his point of view, if he would probably turn up to be the karmic because of his unrequited love at the hands of Laila. And because on the first night when he tries to approach Laila, she tells him very honestly that I'm in love with Cass, and I'm not going to surrender myself to you just because I have been married off to you. And I am going to go back to Cass, so it would be better if you don't touch me. And him, he was also very beautiful, and he was considered very handsome. He was wealthy, he was talented, everything. So he was very sure of himself, and he tells her that I'm going to win your heart, and only when I have replaced Cass in your heart will I touch you. So that does buy Laila some time, but she's very sure that nobody is going to replace Cass in her heart. And to cut a long story short, by and by, and Cass is in a very terrible state, and he is not eating. He is living in the desert, and he is constantly lost in the thoughts of Laila. The version that I like is that there comes a time when Laila's husband begins to lose his patience, and somehow he has got Majnu. He is called him, or he has got him captured, and he has him in his palace, and he wants Majnu to kind of somehow convince Laila to give herself to the husband. And in that scenario, he starts whipping, or rather his servant starts whipping Cass. He's shackled, and he is being tortured with the whip. And at this point, Laila, who has been praying to God that, please God, can you show a sign to these people that I belong with Cass. I will never give myself to another man, even if he is my husband. And this is the moment where Cass is being whipped, and all the marks start coming on her back, and she's bleeding, and she is screaming in pain, and the husband comes running, and he realizes what is happening, and that's where he converts, and he understands that this is not a normal kind of love. And of course the society does not support, even though the husband is willing to, from this moment on, support the relationship between Cass and Laila, and that he would divorce Laila and get her married off to Cass. But the other tribes, and the family of Laila and everything, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But eventually Majnu is back in the desert, and in one version, Laila's husband dies of a broken heart because of the rejection by Laila, and getting the divine providence, the sign, and he realizes. So he dies of a broken heart, and Laila wants to go to Majnu, and she is told that she has to now mourn her husband for 2 years in complete isolation, and she's unable to take that pain, and she cannot bear to think of 2 more years of complete separation. And she falls very gravely ill, and she dies. And when Cass is somehow located in the desert and informed of her passing away, he runs to her grave, and he writes on the stone there near her tomb. There's a poem that he's engraved of his various poems. That is one that apparently is still there, and he dies on her tomb, and people say that his corpse was lying on her tomb for nearly a year, and they were kind of reunited in death. So though yes, it's a tragic story, but the poetry, the poetry that it has inspired of various people. For example, Nizami, he's the one who was so inspired by their love story. He went and researched, and he took facts and fiction and the fables, and he, in the 12th century, he wrote a poem inspired from their love story. And there are certain people who call Laila Majnu the Romeo and Juliet of the East. So, another interesting tidbit, which is very perplexing to me, is the story happened in Arabia, but the whole lot of people who believe that the tomb, the mausoleum of Laila and Majnu, is in a small village in Rajasthan called Binjore, which is 2 kilometers from the Indo-Pak border. And every June there's a huge festival where married couples as well as lovers go there and they make wishes for their love story to succeed. So what is fact, what is fiction? There's a lot of things going on, and the point being that divine love, twin flame love, has always existed. It was not yet time for them to be united, and now the time has come for us to get into union by breaking the old templates, by forgiving what has happened in the past, by letting go of a lot of preconceived notions. And there's a lot of inner work, a lot of healing work that needs to be done. So we'll continue with this journey of ours with more stories, more lessons, and I hope you will subscribe, like and comment, share on your various social media platforms, so that I am encouraged to narrate more and come back with more love stories for you. And I want to leave you with a lot of love and light, and I look forward to your feedbacks. I apologize if the audio quality is a little bad. I'm going to take care of it from the next video. This was the story of Laila and Majnu.